Recording.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the world of oiling. It's an amazing opportunity today to be united with my friends that happen to be from all over the world, and that's just how we roll. With me and my friends, we love on each other, support each other, and celebrate our differences. So tonight is exactly that. We had no idea when we planned this, but God knew that the world would be in need of healing tonight. So tonight, we want to do a brief overview of all the amazing opportunities and traditions for healing that maybe we have personal experience with, or maybe we're just learning more about, specifically from the natural side of healing and moving from herbal to essential oil and understanding the connections, and maybe even a few traditions that you didn't realize were so valuable from your grandma. So we want to get started here. I'm going to go ahead and say a quick prayer, and then we'll jump right in. Dear God, we thank you for the beautiful diversity we have among our friends here tonight. And I just pray that you would guide and lead us as we share, that you would be glorified, and that you would send your healing power to all of us that are struggling with all these different issues around the world tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so I am going to get us started with the world of the Middle Eastern and West African specifically. There's a lot that is from this region of the world that I just barely scraped the tip top of, specifically starting with Egyptians, who hold the oldest records of essential oil usage and have the extensive knowledge. In fact, they were the masters in using essential oils and other aromatics in the embalming process. And when we read about oiling in the Bible, a lot of these things are coming directly from the Egyptian traditions. And yes, Egypt is a part of Africa. I'm not sure. I know for me, growing up, I never made that connection, that Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, these are all part of Africa. And I will also share a couple of Middle Eastern traditions. The Egyptians are known as the founders of the pharaonic medicine, pharaonic representing Pharaoh. The founder of pharaonic medicine was Imhotep, who actually ushered in the use of oils, herbs, and aromatic plants for medicine. Egyptians may have been the first to discover the potential of fragrance. Well before Christ, they collected essential oils in alabaster vessels. And that word alabaster would be very familiar to most Christians, as we hear the story so much about the woman and the alabaster box. In 1922, when King Tut's tomb was opened, 50 vessels holding 350 liters of oil were discovered. The tomb robbers stole all of the oils, only leaving tiny traces, but they left the gold, amazingly enough. And this all comes out of the EODR, so you can go and read that story. That shows how valuable the oils were. They were very aware of that, and of course, they are still extremely valuable. Some would say far more than gold. In 1817, the Ebers Papyrus, a medical scroll with over 870 feet long, was discovered, and it dates back to the 1500s, 1500 BC. 800 different prescriptions and remedies, cures of over 81 different diseases, and many of them contained myrrh and honey. Myrrh was known to support skin and the throat and the embalming process, among many other things. Interestingly enough, myrrh originally comes from Somalia, which is a part of Africa. It is also great for supporting healthy blood sugar levels. Frankincense is a part of the amazing treasures that people have used for centuries, originally from Somalia and Yemen, frankincense cardery. There are other species of frankincense, of course. I'm not going to go into super detail about frankincense because that is a long history that we're going to go more in detail about in another time. But it was known as albanum, the real incense, and used to heal every illness known to man. So the next time somebody says, oh my God, frankincense is so super expensive, break that down into replacing so many things that you would normally use and the amount of time that you would spend trying to figure out with doctors what issues that you might be facing. This would support you in amazing ways. Galbanum is originally from Iran, supporting pain, digestion, and anti-inflammatory. Combined with frankincense and sandalwood, galbanum's frequency goes up extremely high. Myrtle, which I did not know, is also from Africa. Tunisia and Morocco are part of North Africa. They support healthy hormones and thyroids and ovaries, and also respiratory. Ravensara is an oil that I am very unfamiliar with, but I had fun learning about. It's from the island of Madagascar, which is off of the coast of Africa. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Madagascar. The oil that heals is called the oil that heals from all the locals, and it also helps to clear brain fog. How many of us could use some of that when you're trying to concentrate? Now, I want to focus a little bit specifically on the personal testimony my husband has from West Africa growing up there in Togo. I had a chance to teach there for 2 years, which is where we met, and that's an interesting story. But I asked him what did he grow up learning about as far as natural remedies. And interesting enough, I can trace my ancestry back to Togo. We did not know this when I married him, but when we did the DNA thing on ancestry.com, a huge chunk of my ancestry comes from Togo. So hugely ironic.
Oh.
So in West African tradition, he grew up learning about black pepper. And of course, we have the essential oil. He's talking about the actual herb. And they crushed it and they added it with clove. And it would aid them in their digestion. And he said that most moms would make a homemade enema with black pepper and with clove together, mixing it with warm water. Clove, of course, the essential oils, when you want to use these, we're diverting them to the essential oil, you want to look up the dilution ratios because they would be very different than the actual herb, but you would get a greater benefit from actual essential oil uses. Vetiver, ironically, does not originally come from Africa. Some of these don't originally come from Africa, but I want to share them because we want to talk about what the people grew up using and what things have traveled to their areas. Vetiver, interestingly enough, he grew up understanding the root vetiver, and they used it for a disinfectant, for anti-inflammatory. They would chop it and boil it and actually drink the vetiver root. So you want to get that equivalent using that with the essential oil. They had something called African basil. I don't know how similar or different it would be from our basil, but basil essential oil is obviously known to have amazing benefits, but they use this in sauces and teas. Cinnamon bark, he was familiar with that. The cinnamon bark was used to help with body temperature, appetite, digestive support, inflammatory, and even urinary tract support, and even weight loss support. They would boil that in water, put sticks of cinnamon bark in 15 minutes, boiling it with water and lemon, and it would give them amazing support. Lemongrass is used throughout Asia, but ironically, I did not know that it grows in Togo, and I don't know if it came there through some process, but they grow it and they use it a lot. Used throughout the country, again with body temperature support, appetite. He would cook it and mix it in sauces and use it for drinks, teas, for breakfast, specifically for stomach issues, detoxing, and for fresh breath. Also, ginger is used a lot in West African cooking. Obviously, ginger is another great digestive support. So overall, I just wanted to grab onto a few personal testimonies from Africa, and there's so much more we could go into, but this time I'm going to hand it off to my next partner in crime.
Woohoo! That's awesome. I love that. I love all of those traditions.
It's fun learning that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, I am wearing my pineapple fiber Filipino costume today because I'm going to be talking about oils from Asia. There are many, that's what Marlo said, but I'm going to focus on the 3 oils. And these are like big tree oils. And I don't know, this just ministered to me and it's been in my heart to share this. So we're gonna start with hinoki, hinoki oil, and hinoki oil is from Japan. 812. Hinoki oil is from Japan, and this has been used in the Japanese culture to, they use this tree to construct holy temples and shrines. And the reason why that is because this big tree is resistant to decay. Like it's there forever. It's resistant to decay, and it carries a symbolic reputation in their culture of being immortal. Okay, so when you look at the constituents of the oil, it has that, you know, kind of like the anti-aging property, you know, for the tree. It gives it stability, it gives it durability and strength, and have those anti-aging properties. This is so kind of like, you know, highly regarded in Japan, that they call this tree, the hinoki tree, the tree where God stayed. How awesome. That's so cool. All right, so the fragrance of this oil is very calming and very centering and relaxing. And at the same time, it's also very uplifting. So I love those types of oils, especially these tree oils, where it can calm you down or uplift you at the same time, or wherever you are emotionally, it can minister to you in different ways. And that's so amazing. So that's the hinoki. And then the second one, the second tree oil is called honkawai. And honkawai is a tree from Taiwan. And this is like big trees. The trees grow up to about 180 feet and about 8 feet in diameter. So just imagine your regular, you know, like banquet table when you go to parties. That's about 8 feet is a standard size. That's what that's how big the diameter of this tree is. But the thing about it is this tree, the honkawai trees, they grow on this very steep forest in Taiwan. It's almost impossible for people to, like, you know, like harvest it or chip the, you know, the tree. And so, and this trees, again, kind of like the same thing as hinoki tree in Japan, like they are resistant to decay as well. So they live anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 years, very durable. And the same thing that they're used, this is the wood of choice to use in Hong Kong in building their temples and shrines as well, because it's like it just lives forever. And so going back to the size of the tree, and it grows in the steep forest of Taiwan. Um, Pretty much the locals there would just rely on the rainy monsoon season, and when that season comes, it just sort of naturally erodes these trees. And they said that, you know, like they have enough trees fall during that year to supply their needed Hankwai essential oil. Isn't that amazing? I love it that nature has its way of sort of like, okay, people, this is what I'm gonna give you this year, and it just naturally provides for them. Like that is just so amazing to me. That is really, really cool. Um, Again, this is again highly resistant to decay. So the essential oils in this tree gives the tree its durability, its strength, and you know, its stability. And I want to sort of like take a pause here, and and I'm reminded by what Gary Young has taught on my second year of going to convention. This is a convention in Dallas, and he talked. That was the time where we cannot talk about the oils and diagnosis. You know, like the FDA was really kind of very strict on us. And so Gary Young was just so frustrated. He was talking about this tree oils, and he was so frustrated that he cannot talk what these oils can do because they're awesome and they have all these properties. But he kind of looked us in the eye and was just really serious, and he said, I want you to know that the compounds, the constituents that are present in the oil of these trees that give them durability and strength and stability, you know, it can do the same thing to you if you use that oil. So if you are broken, if you feel like you're decaying emotionally, spiritually, you know, physically, if you feel like you're just, about to fall, this oil, the essential oils in this tree can minister to you that way. If it can give the oil durability and strength and stability, it can do the same thing to you emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So I want you to think about, about that. If you're interested in like the benefits of this oil that I cannot talk about, research it, because you'll be amazed of what the properties of these essential oils are. So those are the two oils: Hongkuai from Taiwan and Hinoki from Japan. Hinoki is about 25.50 for a 5 ml bottle, and Hongkuai is 56.25 for a 5 ml bottle. That is wholesale price. All right. All right, let me see. 12. Oh, I got 5 minutes. All right, good. All right, the third one that I'm going to talk about is elemi, and elemi, elemi is an oil from the Philippines. It is considered the poor man's frankincense. Hold on, let me unmute. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so it is considered poor man's frankincense, and it comes from the Philippines. The elemi tree, or the pili tree, Pili, pili tree, is a nut tree that just grows wild in the Bicol region of the Philippines. They call this tree the tree of hope, the tree of hope, because like in that Bicol region, in that region of the Philippines, they're strategically right there to where like they're just hammered with typhoon pretty much all year round. And they said that the abundance of pili trees there, whatever tree survives those typhoon, like after that typhoon is over, this pili trees just grow, like produce fruit abundantly, and that gives them so much hope, and gives them, like provides them with food and stuff. And so they called it the tree of hope. I thought that was beautiful. So most of the Filipinos for a long time, regarded the pili tree as something, like important because of the nut, of their nut. And they said that it's kind of like shaped like an almond, but it tastes really, really good. It's considered a super fruit. And they said that it's so good that once you taste it for the first time, you'll never forget the taste, you'll never forget the feeling, and you'll never forget the experience of eating it. That's how good it is. And so little did the Filipinos know that underneath the bark of this tree is a resin that produces the elemi essential oil. They didn't know that. And so we are thankful for this lady. Her name is Rosalina Tan, who really is one of the major proponent of organic farming in the Philippines, when people really don't care about organic farming. Like a lot of Filipinos are very poor, the farmers are poor, they needed something fast and in bulk to produce, and you don't get that with organic farming. You'll spend more, you'll have to wait more, and you don't get as much products, when you do organic farming. But so when Rosalina Tan discovered about the elemi oil in this pili tree, she was so excited about it, and so she talked to the farmers to do that, and she was so she wanted to support the farmers, and she doesn't want them to stop producing the elemi oil. And so what she did is she would buy barrels of this resin from them, and the barrels of osmo, and just store it in her storage. So she has like a garage full of barrels of elemi oil, and they really kind of don't know how to use it. She's still kind of researching what these oils are for, but she did not want the farmers to to stop producing it. She was so she cares so much about them, and she wanted to help them out, and she wanted to really advocate organic farming in the Philippines. And so kind of around that time, the Young Living is out of stock with elemi for a long time. It's been out of stock, and so they were searching for a partner farm for elemi. And so their paths crossed with the Happy Pili farm. And long story short, yeah, the Happy Feely Farm became Young Living's ninth partner farm, and they gave them a grant to put up build their own distillery there, and that meant so much to Rosalina because then that helped the farmers. They don't have what they were doing before is they would export the resin to Europe, and pretty much they're buying this resin for like 50 cents a pound and then selling the oil back for like $50, you know, to the farmers, or you know, to all over the world. And so the poor farmers don't get a whole lot, and so they were so happy and they were so thankful to Young Living that now they have, you know, that's it's sustainable now what they're doing. And so Elemi is like the poor man's frankincense. It belongs to the same botanical family with frankincense and myrrh essential oil, and it has the same components, you know, like very similar properties with frankincense and myrrh. So it's exquisite for your skin. It has compounds that really that really trigger like cellular regeneration to help repair and rejuvenate your skin. It is a powerful skin tonic, you know, kind of like a toner, and it gives your skin a lift. I like that. And it helps with your fine lines and wrinkles. It's so cool to use it as a serum for your skin, and it's also great for muscle support. So this is LME is one of the ingredients in our gosh, what's Orthosport massage oil. So really good for, you know, to make your muscles and your joints happy. This is a really good one. And then fragrance of that, just think of again what frankincense can do. You know, LME can minister to you that way when you diffuse it. So um, that's all I have for those three oils. They are amazing. They're amazing, amazing oils. So if you haven't tried them yet, you try it. All right, who's next?
That would be me. And my name is Dana Powell. I'm going to be discussing our European oils. So the oils that out tonight, there are quite a few of them from our farms in Europe. And I'll tell you which farms they're from, and then I'll just give a little brief description. So the Simeon La Rotonde farm in Provence, France. From there we get lavender, clary sage, and rosemary. The Dalmatia Aromatic Farm and Distillery in Split, Croatia, we get helichrysum, sage, juniper, and bay laurel. Or the Vida de Seville Distillery in Almaden de la Plata, Seville, Spain, we get cistus, frankincense, and myrrh, some. And then Bella Vista Farm in Reggio Calabria, Italy, we get bergamot. So I'm going to start with lavender. It's indigenous, and a lot of these border the Mediterranean. And there a lot of the oils that I looked at from these farms had, in ancient times, had not only medicinal uses, but culinary uses as well. So the lavender is indigenous to the mountainous area of Western Europe that borders the Mediterranean. And when early travelers brought it back, it spread very the world. So by the 16th century, much loved plant in Europe, and they loved having it in their gardens. The first lavender plants found in America made their way here sometime after the European settlers, so they probably brought it with them when they came. Records show lavender has been in use for over 2,500 years. There's many uses for lavender then, and some of them we still use. The Renaissance time in Europe who did the laundry were called washerwomen or launderers. No, I'm sorry, lavenderers. And they would take their clean laundry after they had washed it and spread it over the lavender bushes so that it would scent their laundry. In the 17th century, it was used in England quite a bit. uses. Queen Elizabeth loved the scent, and so it became very popular there. Um, and they used it for everything from toothaches to aphrodisiacs. It was, in fact, thought that lavender bunches placed under the bed of a newly married couple would ensure passion. Uh, and then they would also use it in castles and things. They would just strow the lavender on the floor of the castle, and when they would walk on it, it would release the aromatics that they believed would cleanse or clean the air. Excuse me. They even sold, street vendors sold it back then, and they would buy it by the bunch and burn it in sick rooms, again, for cleansing. Today, we use it for enhancing our sleep, right? And then it's also good to help the body with its own natural healing process. It promotes healing. And it's awesome for skin, kind of like Elemi. It's, it helps support your skin. Another one is clary sage. It's derived from the Salvia sclarea, which is an herb named after the Latin word clarus, and it means cleansing or clarifying. And it speaks to the properties of that plant. Historically, it was used a lot in perfumery and for culinary uses as a flavoring agent for food and drinks. But over time, various therapeutic, medicinal, and cosmetic applications have come to be discovered for balancing and uplifting from this oil. By helping to balance hormones and uplift your mood, it's reputed to promote greater self-esteem as well as mental fortitude. It's known to eliminate body odor, balance the skin's natural oil production, and to strengthen your hair. Clary sage is known to boost circulation and support and strengthen the function of the digestive system. It's also known to provide relief from complaints associated with metabolic function. Our third oil from Europe is rosemary, and its use dates back to 500 BC when it was used as a culinary and medicinal herb by the ancient Greeks and the Romans. In the Middle Ages, rosemary was considered a wonder plant, which could be used to treat many illnesses and to keep you healthy. One 14th century writer found 23 uses for it, including keeping your hair beautiful was one. This herb has long held the reputation for enhancing memory and honoring the dead. So rosemary, I know, Mahal, I think you put that in your shampoo, right? It's good for healthy hair. Helichrysum, there are many different species of this, and some come from Africa and Asia, and then also Europe. It was an iconic plant of the Mediterranean era, but the use of its essential oil in glamorous perfumes and personal care products has turned it into a veritable icon of luxury. It's a very luxurious oil. And a neat thing that I learned about helichrysum was because there are so many different species, this one in particular has like a licorice scent, but when you just, let me see in my notes where it's, okay, so during steam distillation, the licorice note is lost and a bitter woodsy note is generated, they think because of the degradation of non-volatile constituents. So the plant itself smells like licorice, but the oil does not. It's got a more woodsy smell. Sage is an herb that is in the mint family. It's native to the Mediterranean region again. And the French produced bountiful crops of sage, and they used it as tea. I know when we think of sage, we think of stuffing at Thanksgiving or dressing, but they used it as tea. They would boil the leaves and use it as tea. And the Chinese they became enamored with this French tea that the French were using. So they started trading it. They would trade 4 pounds of Chinese tea 4 pounds of Chinese tea for 1 pound of the sage tea. In 812 AD, sage was one of the plants deemed so important that Charlemagne ordered it planted on German imperial farms, no doubt due to the lucrative trade business as well as for its medicinal popularity. In ancient Rome, it was considered to have substantial healing properties, so much so that it was deemed part of the official Roman pharmacopoeia. So they really believed in the healing properties of sage in 812. Today, when used as a tea, some people call it thinker's tea because it is known to aid in supporting Alzheimer's patients and also to help with symptoms of depression. So sage is also good for hair, nails, and skin. Juniper, it's most well known for being a botanical in gin. I did not know that. Apparently, how they used to use it. Would take the berries, and they have a long history of being part of culinary and medicinal pursuits. But originally, alcohol was used as a method of preserving the therapeutic qualities of these juniper berries. And it had a pleasant side effect that it made the booze more palatable. So let's see, they used it to flavor whiskey in Scotland. They used juniper berries to flavor their whiskey. They added the berries to food to aid in digestion, and they were also used for culinary purposes throughout Europe. The earliest medicinal use of juniper was actually in ancient Egypt in 1500 BC. The Greeks recorded using the berries medicinally long before they used them in food. And the reason for this, or the major reason for it, was that they believed that feeding juniper berries to their athletes gave them good physical stamina. They also used it a lot for medicinal purposes associated with poverty. So a lot of the poor people would get these illnesses that some others didn't, and that's what they mainly used it for. Today we still use it to aid in digestion, but it's also considered to help neutralize free radicals because it's high in antioxidants, and it helps keep your skin balanced. And so here's a recipe. You can use it for facial toner. Use 1 ounce of alcohol-free witch hazel, half an ounce of rose water, and half an ounce of root oil. The next oil is Laurus novulus, also known as bay laurel. It's known in history for its digestive properties. It helps also to support a healthy immune system, provide cleansing properties, and delivers powerful antioxidants. In ancient times, it was used to adorn the heads of the winners of the Pythian Games, which were the precursors to the Olympic Games. And so the winners, they get a crown. You see history, they get a crown of the bay laurel around their head. And sometimes even today, it is given to college graduates as synonymous with honor or great recognition. Cistus is native to France, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. And there was a researcher named Dr. Puig Monnier who discovered traces of the cistus plant in pre. The cistus plant is also known as the Rose of Sharon, and among the kings of Israel, the cistus tree was one of the 5 sacred aromas of holy anointing. That was one that they used to anoint. The medicinal properties of cistus were first discovered by accident. There were some shepherds thousands of years ago, and they tried to remove the gum resin of the cistus from the sheep fur, and they noticed that they had, shepherds would have cuts on their hands from fences or just whatever, just being out in the fields. But they noticed that wherever their hands touched the cistus gum or the cistus resin, that they would heal faster. Those cuts and scrapes would heal faster than the other places on their body. So it's kind of they discovered that. It's used a lot, or it was used a lot then during meditation because it invokes feelings of peacefulness and tranquility. It's long been used to help people through periods of trauma and emotional pain. In fact, the Egyptians used its therapeutic properties in their famous incense kaifi, which was used to alter mood and stimulate feelings of euphoria. Frankincense and myrrh, I'm not really going to touch on. I think Marlo did a good job of that, and then we'll get into those, like she said, deeper later on. And then our last one is bergamot. I did not know for the longest that bergamot was a fruit. It is a hybrid of lemon and orange. And while you cannot eat the fruit itself, the peeling, they cold press it. It's best to release its essential and aromatics. And they use the dried peel of bergamot in Earl Grey tea. That's what gives it its unique flavor. Bergamot has been one of the most prized citrus oils, and it's been widely used in perfumery and culinary arts. The name bergamot is derived from the Italian city of Bergamo, where the oil was first sold. They first in Italy. Let's see. Bergamot was one of the ingredients in a perfume in the 18th century called eau de cologne, and it was all the rage back then in the 18th century. It's a powerful tool to help boost your mood and to bring light and happiness into in the 1700s, the Germans began adding bergamot to their tobacco. They would infuse their tobacco with it to give it flavor. Let's see. It's also been known to protect crops against pests. So a lot of farmers would plant bergamot plants near their vegetable or herb gardens, kind of as a natural repellent. And that's all I have.
Awesome.
So, turn it over to Millie.
I'm here. There we go. Thank you, Dana. That was awesome. And you know what? I'm going to talk about one of the herbs that you mentioned too, because that's what came up in my research. The world is so small that I was appropriating an herb, but I'm ready with it, and I'm going to talk about it on the Latin America standpoint and how we use it. Okay, well, my name is Millie Trevino, and I'm going to talk about Latin America herbs and oils and how they have been used. Let me start my timer, otherwise I'm going to talk all night. So using plants to balance, unify, enhance, and engage our innate healing processes is something that is very common in Latin America. Can everybody hear me? I didn't even ask. Okay. It is very common for us Latins to go to the store. If you walk into any Mexican, Peruvian, Ecuadorian, any specialty store here in the U.S., you will always find a medicinal area that is full of herbs and ointments and concoctions, because that's the way we grew up. I mean, if you go to a house, we usually have a cupboard that is destined for our teas and herbs, and many people have them in their gardens because it is a highly respected practice amongst Latins to have medicinal herbs in their homes. So given that situation, I think that's what brought Gary to Latin America whenever he was looking for land. Because I remember in one of his talks, he was talking about how his mom used to forage outside their property looking for medicinal herbs, and that's the way he grew up, and that's how he started his company, right? By using what his mom taught him. And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to Young Living as well, using the natural things that I grew up with, and that my mom and my grandmothers were using with me. Whenever I had something going on, they always had some kind of tips that they were going to, I mean, they were ready to give me. And whenever Gary went down to South America looking for land, I know he went to Mexico. It didn't work out over there. And then he ended up going to Ecuador. And now we know that in Ecuador, we have a whole bunch of different, oils that are being distilled over there in the farm. One of them is one that is very dear to my heart, and that one is Dorado Azul. And Dorado Azul has this this property that helps a lot of people. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because it's non-compliant, but you can make your own research on that. It has many medical properties and applications. But the funny thing is that Dorado Azul was considered a weed until 2006. So it's been just 14 years that we've been benefiting from it. And I can talk about something that is very much compliant because it's one of the main ingredients. Well, it's the main ingredient on this, the Kula Azul pain relief cream. I don't know if, there we go. Pain relief cream. This Kula Azul pain relief cream, it is completely over-the-counter medicine, and it's approved by the FDA to provide penetrating and cooling pain relief. So that's one of the things that Kula Azul does. And I mean, Dorado Azul gives power to this cream together with other essential oils. So it kind of gives you an idea of the purpose of the company, of helping us, again, balance, unify, enhance, and engage our innate healing processes. The ones that they're already within us. We just not need to engage them and turn the key and let them do what they're supposed to do. So another essential oil that we use, the one that I'm appropriating, is sage. Sage is something that whenever I think sage, me as a Mexican, I think of Veracruz. Veracruz is in the coastal of the Atlantic in Mexico, and everybody uses sage, or how we call it, laurel. They cook with it, I mean, for everything. Especially, I'm not like a super fan of putting it everywhere, but I do like it with pork tamales. I don't know why, but it gives it a good flavor. I have a friend from Veracruz here in Lufkin, and she cooks with sage, and she doesn't overpower, and it's really good. So sage, the name is Salvia officinalis. It was named that way because salvia means salvar or savior. It was, I guess, something that they could recur to a lot of times to get away from many ailments. And one of the things that it does really good is help your skin because it's astringent. Astringent, that's how you say it? Well, it helps your skin, it cleanses it. If you also have a lot of perspiration, you can make a plaster with a sage, and it can curb the excess of perspiration. It also supports your endocrine system. It helps with mental fatigue and also with feelings of despair. So this sage is amazing to use. I I didn't know about all this, so I'm thinking of using it more because usually one bottle will last me like 2 years because I really don't know how to use it, and that's why I focused on getting getting to know two of these herbs that I don't really use that much. The second one is coriander. Coriander is also known in Mexico as cilantro. Cilantro, that's, the coriander are the seeds and the cilantro is the herb. And it's very widely used in Mexico and in Mexican and Asian cooking. And we cannot live without cilantro, us Mexicans. We put it everywhere, especially in pico de gallo. We love pico de gallo with cilantro, even though it ends up in our teeth and it doesn't look good, but it tastes so good. And I didn't know that you can use it for your skin. You can add it to, if you have the essential oil, go ahead and add it to your warm bath. You can inhale it, you can diffuse it, but it also helps with something that goes along with sage, sweating. Sweating, because it has the ability to fight the bacteria that lingers around your sweat glands. So it battles bad odor. So if you're like here in East Texas, it's super hot right now, and we live in a very humid place. So I'm thinking about incorporating coriander in my deodorant routine. That way I can, spare the others around me from my smell because it can get pretty bad. And you can also add it to your mouthwash. So if you use the mouthwash from Young Living or you do your own version DIY, that is something that you can add to your mouthwash to help the I don't know if I can say this word, to help all the little thingies microscopic that can cause you bad breath. So it also helps with aches and pains, minor aches and pains, and with a lot of skin conditions. And coriander also helps with your mood issues. It can create a calming and uplifting effect when you're feeling down. So if you're feeling down, and Marlo talked about this in her opening, we're going through a time where everybody is being affected, and your mood lowers, your frequency lowers. So coriander is something that we can run to, and it's super cheap as well. We can run to so we can achieve a peace of mind. Peace of mind when it comes to being down because we feel sad or because we feel disappointed, things that are going on around us right now. And there are many, many issues going on all around the world. Also, coriander can aid us in digestive and urinary systems. So it's a very good thing to have if your ailments are oops, sorry, I'm almost done, just 1 minute. If your ailments are in those systems, your urinary and your gastric. So one of the things that I just wanted to close with is that we have to give nature a chance to work with us. And I like what this guy in 2015 said in his thesis. He wrote, his name is William Lyle, and he wrote in his thesis of herbal and holistic medicine in Latin America. Most herbal remedies have active chemical ingredients that could be or are used today to treat symptoms that can be applied today. It is possible to effectively apply it to modern American society as an alternative to mainstream chemical medicine. So I would say that it should be the other way around. This should be the mainstream, and the chemical medicine should have its place on the side to the left. So like the song, I'm not getting political here. So we just need to give herbs a chance, and you will be amazed on how good you're going to feel. Thank you for listening.
Yay! That's awesome. Oh my goodness. I love this. I've learned so much. I've learned so much now. When Marlo kind of told us her topic, I'm so reminded when I met Marlo first, and I think in one of the first meetings that she attended, and I asked like, how do you foresee like your life with Young Living? And I know like we chose like several, I think 10 words. I asked him 10 words, and one of Marlo's and a lot of us there have kind of sort of like similar words. But Marlo, like, she stood out to me because she said international, international. And like, if you know Marlo, that's her passion. That's like just oozing oozing from every cell in her body. And I love that she chose this topic, and I've learned so much. So that's amazing. Thank you, Marlo. Marlo, my hero. And Marlo, do you want to close us? Oh, by the way, like our next Zoom is 2 weeks from now. And so I chose the topic, and it's just going to be all about frankincense. So I'm going to talk about the biblical uses or the biblical perspective of frankincense. Dana will talk about the science and the research available. Marlo will talk about the history of historical uses of frankincense. I'm sure she'll have some interesting stories to tell. And then Millie, looking forward to listening to her part of the Young Living story / Gary Young story with frankincense. So I think that's going to be awesome. And each one of us will share, like our top 3 uses of, how we like to use frankincense oil. So anyway, Marlo, I'm going to have you close. After Marlo closes, I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll open for Q&A. All right, Marlo, take it.
Guys, thank you so much. This was awesome. Hello. I'm getting feedback, but thank you. You guys did an amazing job. This was really, I have no words, because with everything that's going on this week, it's been quite devastating, because this is my heart, and I would, you would pray that this would be the heart of everyone, but obviously we don't live in a perfect world. So I can't tell you the emotional strain for me and my family this week to be reminded of these things that are very personal to us. And I thank God that I have friends like you guys who see things differently and who have my back and who have taken time to make that very clear where you stand on certain issues. And so I just pray that anybody on this video and anybody hearing it later would understand that we are a family, and Young Living is a family. And from day one, I was attracted to this because of the heart of Gary Young to include everyone, to bring everybody to the table. And so that's what this was about. Again, we planned this way before we knew what was going on, but that's how God works. And I know I was blessed. I pray that everybody on here would definitely feel blessed and validated and supported. And that's really what it's all about. So I'm getting emotional because it's a real world we live in. And I have a son that I am trying to raise, and I'm trying to find the balance every single day about how to do that. But God is our strength. And so I thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn off the recording, and then we'll open for Q&A.